Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to be learning about the Midwest region. Thank you for all of you that are working so hard on the Northeast region. Way to go. And the Southeast region. Now we're off to the Midwest region. And hey, wouldn't you know, this is where we live. Minneapolis, Minnesota, right here. So, first, let's learn a little bit about the region. Here we go. Listen up.
From space, planet Earth looks like a blue and white spinning marble. But take a closer look. Now you can see oceans, continents, lakes, and rivers. And cities, buildings, and lots of people. Geography is the study of Earth's physical features, weather and climates, natural resources, and populations. Geography is a way to understand people and places. So where on Earth are you? A part of the United States known as the Midwest is home to big sky country, big weather, and big cities. This is the land of wide open spaces and rich farmlands that feed millions of people. This is America's heartland. Many of the Midwest's largest cities, Chicago, Minneapolis, Detroit, and St. Louis, were once farming communities. Today, these cities are major hubs of transportation, banking, industry, and the arts. Situated on Lake Michigan, Chicago, Illinois, called the Windy City, is the biggest city in the Midwest and the third largest city in the United States. Minneapolis, located in southeastern Minnesota, was once the world's leading producer of flour. Today, it is a center of business, industry, and transportation. The buildings in downtown Minneapolis are connected by a system of enclosed, elevated passageways called skyways. These heated connectors come in handy in the winter when the average temperature is around 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Located in the middle of America, the Midwest's flat terrain and fertile soil provide farmland for cattle, sheep, hogs, wheat, corn, soybeans, and many other products. The Midwest is also home to the Great Lakes: Ontario, Erie, Huron, Michigan, and Superior. This is the largest group of freshwater lakes in the world, containing 1/5 of the world's surface freshwater. The Great Lakes were formed over a span of 2 million years by huge masses of ice called glaciers. As the glaciers melted along their southern edges, they left behind huge trenches that filled with water from the melted ice, creating the lakes. These lakes form part of the border between the United States and Canada. Only Lake Michigan is completely within the United States. Connected by waterways and canals, the 5 Great Lakes are important shipping routes for the United States and Canada. The lakes drain into the St. Lawrence River, which flows northeast through Canada into the Atlantic Ocean. Some of the most unusual terrain in the United States is found along the western edge of the Midwest, in South Dakota. This is Badlands National Park. Over time, water erosion carved out small, steep hills, cliffs, and valleys to form this distinctive landscape. Little vegetation grows here. This land isn't so bad after all. South Dakota is also home to Mount Rushmore, where sculptors carved a memorial to 4 of America's presidents. Nestled in the Black Hills, the granite heads of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln tower above the land. Watch out for that nose. The geography of the Midwest ranges from rolling grasslands to eroded badlands to the calm waters of the Great Lakes. This is the land of big cities and checkered farmlands. This is America's heartland.
So,
Great Lakes were formed over
America's heartland, which we are a part of. So as we do a little bit more, I want you to look at, because remember, in May, we'll be knowing all of the states and all of the capitals. But first, I want you to take this week and part of next week to finish all about the Midwest region. Number 1, I filled in for you. So I went to 1 here, and I know that is Michigan. That is Michigan, and I know the capital is Lansing. Notice Mission is capitalized, and so is Lansing, the capital, because they are, of course, proper nouns. Please finish all of the states and capitals in the Midwest region. Your teacher will let you know when it's due. Here is the Midwest region. Let's take this fun pretest first. Before we do the reading, remember, we'll do the pretest. So here we go. On each of the different sections, I'll do the first one with you. The Midwest region is next to the Pacific Ocean. Do you think that is true or false? Please fill it in. We'll find out after if it's true or false. Number 2, most of the land in the Midwest region is flat, grassy plains. Do you think that's true or false? Here we'll go to the next one. The Great Lakes are connected to the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico by rivers and canals. Do you think that is true or false? Next part is the Mississippi River is the shortest river in the United States. Is that true or false? We'll be able to answer those right after we do the reading. Land and water. The land of the Midwest is very different from the land in the regions to its east. Almost all the Midwest is flat, gently rolling land with very few trees, called the Central Plains. Prairie grasses cover much of the land. The prairie grasses help make the soil extremely fertile. The Central Plains are low, but rise slowly west of the Mississippi River. The Great Plains lie to the west of the Central Plains. The soil isn't as fertile, and there is less rainfall. The land is higher, drier, and rockier. The Great Plains are mostly dry grassland with few trees. The Black Hills in South Dakota are the hilliest parts of the Great Plains. The Black Hills have very high peaks made of granite. There are areas of the Great Plains that are very dry. These areas are called the Badlands because the land is useless for farming and many other human purposes. In the Badlands, there are steep slopes made of clay and soft rock. When it rains, the clay and rocks erode, creating canyons and many strange shapes in the soft rock. I have been, to the Badlands. Amazing views. Water in the Midwest is very important. Most major cities in the Midwest formed near these waterways. Before railroads, travel on waterways was faster and less expensive than traveling on land. The Mississippi River and the Missouri River combined to make an important waterway. The Mississippi River runs 2,300 miles through the Central Plains all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Many tributaries join to the Mississippi River, including the Missouri River and Arkansas River from the west, and by the Ohio River from the east. The Missouri River is the longest river in North America, flowing just a few hundred miles farther than the Mississippi. The rivers are a busy water highway for boats and barges. The riverbanks are lined with levees, raised areas that stop the river from overflowing. Four of the 5 Great Lakes touch the Midwest region. These lakes are so large they hold 1/5 of all the fresh water in the world, over 6 quadrillion gallons. Rivers and canals connect the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. Although the Midwest has flat land, the Great Lakes are not all at the same level. Locks are needed to lift and lower ships from one lake to the next. Locks are part of waterways that are closed off by gates. Barges wait on the lock while the water is pumped in or out. Once the level is high or low enough, big doors swing open to send barge traffic on its way. Michigan's SOO locks lift ships from Lake Huron up 21 feet to Lake Superior. The Sioux locks are the busiest locks in the world, with over 12,000 ships passing through each year. So now we're going to go back and we're going to answer these questions. Number 1, the Midwest region is next to the Pacific Ocean. That is false. So right here, after, you should put false. Number 2, most of the land in the Midwest region is flat, grassy plains. That is true. Number 3, the Great Lakes are connected to the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico by rivers and canals. That is true. Number 4, my daughter didn't think this was accurate. The Mississippi River is the shortest river in the United States. That is false. Correct. All right, then I did complete this, but you get to complete the rest. Number 1, how are the Great Plains different from the Central Plains? How are they the same? So I went back and I found the information, found the evidence, and I found that the Great Plains are higher, drier, and rockier than the Central Plains. Both areas have flat, gently rolling lands with very few trees. What are the Badlands? Remember, Miss Dixon has been there. So has Samantha, who's right next to me. It's areas of the Great Plains that are very dry and useless for farming and many other human purposes. So now what you get to do is talk about the climate. So make your guesses first about what you think you know about the climate. It's okay if you have the wrong guess. Then you'll read about the climate, answer the questions. You'll do products, natural resources, landmarks, and culture.